Hi everyone, this is Karak from ACG, bringing you another review for another game for another system. Buy, wait for a sale, rent, or never touch it again. What do you think Zombi is going to get? Because that's the game I'm reviewing today, a rework of the Wii U game Zombie U. If you like your deaths doled out in a little dabble do ya mentality, this is the wrong game for you. This is a Jesus Christ Superstar resurrection simulator with death after death of subway residents playing out at your hands as you try to explore, stab, steal, and stealth your way to at least a mediocre amount of safety after a zombie apocalypse has ruined much of the world. Even when you begin to understand the talents you have and use the proper facilities to upgrade and kit yourself out, death comes at you not like a whisper in the night, but with your head being shorn clear off by some dude wearing a helmet indoors like he's protecting his own head from how hard he's gonna bite you. So let's get to it. This is the review for Zombi, revolving door death, cricket bat antics, and randomly placed beds every 40 feet because the song most people listen to during the apocalypse must have been Let's Get It On. And remember, if you like my review, maybe subscribe, it helps the channel. Gameplay's up first, as always. Zombie, or in this case just Zombie, is a game of revolving death with you waking up time and again to an unknown DJ spinning tales of magic and scientific experiments that quickly cause you to gallivant like a small child through the thick of labyrinth-like levels as if you're immune to damage. As you explore and uncover the plot, you engage in hostilities with zombies, the infected, death dealers, death walkers, the walking dead, whatever you want to call them, and you gather an assortment of tools to take them out, from guns, cricket bats, and shovels to Molotov cocktails and even randomly discovered landmines that are apparently carried by many London underground ravers and some assorted police officers there. The Wii U version of the game played up the whole separate pack thing with the additional pad, and here it's replicated fairly well with you slinging your pack into the ground at your feet and rummaging through it like a homeless man's trash can treasure chest. The additional moments it takes you to do these activities does add to the hectic and stressed feel of the game, and much of the gameplay is wrapped around that, as you can only have a few items in your quick slots of your inventory and you do a lot of switching between the two. The realism is excellent, and it's actually really well established by this one little change. Now, movement and battle have a decidedly half Dying Light, half Dead Island feel to it. It's both at times clumsy and at times somewhat simplistic in its excellence. It fails you many times when you least expect it, but it does offer you a quick turn button and a few other tricks up your sleeve, so at some times you're going to end up feeling like you're a masterful fighter, able to just escape any zombie problem at any time. Saving is done by sleeping in randomly placed beds that dot the land, and various tools help you modify and upgrade your equipment. All in all, despite everything I've mentioned here, there's really not a lot special within the game so far. It just feels like a strange mixture of Resident Evil with its somewhat cumbersome movement and questionable NPC characters dotting the land, and it does also feel like Dead Island with okay melee and weapon combat, but some of that search and stab gameplay is there, but when you compare it against Dead Island, which started this whole craze in a way, and Dying Light, which perfected it, this game does not really sit pretty against them. I would say it's nothing special, but it's also interesting and it kept me motivated, which seems like they're at odds. That's the one special thing about the game. For a game so much about random character death, I found myself intensely connected to the characters I played. I'm not sure if that was a byproduct of the knowledge that the Wheel of Fate's going to crush them like nuts in a grinder, or if it was the gameplay itself, but I grew more attached to some of them, like my Black Marine, who seemed to be able to handle himself in all situations until he forgot that landmines don't have DNA scanners to verify that the person who planted it isn't the person walking over it. Within this game, it's a hodgepodge. There's a lot to like and a good length to the game, but there's some beats missing here, like a few control issues and some insanely puzzling maps. Seriously, whoever made the maps must have been that one DM you always hated as a kid when role-playing, the one that used every inch of graph paper for every level of a dungeon and asked for payment and lunch items. Other than that, I would say it's pretty much just adequate. Graphics are up next. And, I have to say, they're better than the Wii U version, but not by much. It feels a bit smoother at times, and some additional special effects seem to be applied to screens, but this was never a pretty game, and it continues its attack on averageness throughout the gameplay. It is also specially armed with an atrocious frame rate at times, digging deep into the low double digits, like it has decided to just give up like some of the characters in the game. Speaking of characters, both player and enemies are a mix of somewhat passable to just okay models with low polygon budgets and modest texture resolutions throughout that don't seem like improvements to the original. Speaking of characters, both player and enemies are a mix of somewhat passable to just okay models with low polygon budgets and modest texture resolutions throughout. This is not pushing the Xbox One or PS4 for sure. The weather effects when they hit outdoor areas, and the game runs at frame rates that are downright morally ambiguous in the harm they may do to those who are the least bit susceptible to motion sickness, which is funny when you think about it. The game at times barely looks like it's in motion, which elicits a feeling of motion sickness from the player. Basically, this is average at best, with uninspired texturing throughout both levels and characters, as well as technical issues abounding throughout the gameplay. Sound, music, and voice.
Locked, eh? That lot could that did them. You'll have to pick the lock, find a tool.
Sounds up first, and it's okay. It's a bit average, and the guns hit with all the force of a grandmother cursing at young children. They're mixed fine and don't smash the hell out of one another when the going gets tough and a room gets crowded with every zombie wanting to give you a special hug, but I didn't find it at all informative, and no setting seemed perfect for surround sound. Music. I gotta say, this was fairly blah, and it was fairly blah in the original. Melodic and melancholy affairs, no single track really stuck out, and nothing begged to be listened to again. It's exactly what you expect when you expect it, and sometimes less than that. Voice. Actually, that was pretty good. It wasn't excellent, but whether it's someone reading an audio log about angels, or your DJ-like handler telling you where to go next, or a strangely calm doctor in the middle of Zombieland, it's at the very least average, which is good, especially when you consider sound and music really weren't that good. Fun factor. Here is where the game excelled, ignoring the sound, music, and voice rating fairly low, and the frame rate hitting new lows from time to time. The gameplay was solid and enjoyable, with both a desire to continue to play just one more new random character, mixed with a desire to do everything I could to keep those characters alive, mixing together in this really cool way. I have to admit that the fact that you can go and kill your old character to get your stuff back adds a great deal of personalization to the game, and there's something about being attached to a character only to have that character die, then later have them chase you blindly down a hallway before you beat it to death with a massive board that just puts a smile on my face, which is a sentence I never want to hear the cops hear me say. In all honesty, it was actually pretty fun despite all the technical problems. So I rate games on a buy, wait for a sale, rent, or never touch it again rating scale. This is still a wait for a sale, even at $19.99. It does offer a tremendous amount of gameplay, but it has so many technical problems. In fact, far too many of them. And when the main offender is an atrocious frame rate for a game that involves melee combat, I just can't see pushing folks towards this without that kind of warning, or maybe a patch on the horizon. So that's it for me. I hope you liked the video. If you do, hit like. If you dislike, hit dislike. And as always, peace out.